gotta fight to win. Fight to win. Fight to win. I'ma say it again. You gotta fight to win. Fight to win. It ain't over till it's over. It's about to begin. I'm so dedicated.
Good Monday morning. Thank you for joining and tuning in to Endie Fiya's Monday Motivation. This is your man Causso, the My Struggle is My Strength motivational speaker. I hope that everyone is well. I hope that everyone is staying safe. You know, I have just one question. Who have you checked on? You know, you never know how your call or even how your text can make a difference in someone's life or in someone's day. So, you know, check on your people, man. Check on your people. Before we get started, I'd like to thank Endie Fiya for giving me this opportunity to speak. You can tune into her show at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays for music, entertainment, news, and daily inspiration for everyone. That's right. You can go to Blog Talk Radio /Endie Fiya. That's ENDIE. Fiya is FIYA. Check it out and tell a Causso sent you. You know, today we will be starting a new series, and in this series we will be discussing trauma. And so I'm super excited because today we will be discussing a subset of trauma, which is traumatic isolation. Right now, the COVID-19 pandemic has impacted our lives in so many ways where, you know, we are now experiencing social isolation. And many of you, especially people that I've talked to, they have described it as feeling overwhelmed and disconnected. And some people have even said they're having an anxiety and feeling lonely and feeling frustrated, right? And all of these words are evocative for being traumatically isolated. You know, many of you are having to deal with these different emotions like never before. And it was recently reported that 3 out of 5 people are experiencing a persistent sense of isolation. Right now, isolation is traumatic. You know, especially when it's sudden isolation. You know, it has a way of affecting us psychologically, and studies show that it can actually shrink your brain. You know, isolation is very traumatic. And as we are all eagerly, you know, waiting to return to some sort of normalcy, our patience become more and more arduous. You know, so what do we typically do? What we do is we devise ways to escape, because it's very challenging. You know, it's very hard to deal with our current circumstances. So we begin to find different ways to manage the pressure and to manage the pain and the emptiness of isolation, right? You know, that's what we typically do, you know. So we all find different ways to escape. You know, some ways are innocent, while other ways are destructive. I got a question. Have you ever felt, you know, like you were trapped in isolation? You know, have you? Because it's one thing to feel like you're trapped in isolation, and it's another thing to feel like you're trapped in habits. You know, to be trapped in this redundant cycle of doing things over and over and over again. And oftentimes we try to escape from the reality by using coping mechanisms. But what happens is these coping mechanisms, oftentimes they enslave us. You know, maybe your way of escape is using alcohol or using, you know, narcotics to medicate. And when we use these mechanisms, they become masters that ultimately take over our lives. Because at first, you know, it was just a drink. I'm just gonna have a drink to deal with it, you know. And you know, for some people, they would just, you know, they just take a pill. I'm just gonna take this pill to escape from this isolation, and other people, they use sex to cope with it. And before you realize it, you find yourself being enslaved by something you thought was going to, to satisfy that dopamine chemical that's in your brain to give you some kind of relief. But ultimately, it's really fulfillment that you're seeking to replace the painful darkness of loneliness, right? Yes, loneliness can be dark. It can be a place of void and emptiness, but it's in those dark places of loneliness where it's not all bad, because I discovered that some of the best things get developed in the dark. Just like a old camera film that gets developed in a dark room. And the same thing applies to our lives. Right now, at this very moment, what's happening is you're being developed, you're being prepared in the dark room. And I know it may feel lonely and dark, and you may be down at times, but downtime is really prep time. Downtime is prep time. And I think it was John Leslie that said the reason why they call it downtime is because that is the time that we engage in activities that bring us down. We do things that waste time. I mean, we waste a lot of time. We waste time watching Tiger King and watching TikTok and things of that nature. So in this time of isolation, take advantage. Use this downtime that you have right now to prepare you for the opportunities that are coming. Because it is better to be prepared for an opportunity and not have one than to have an opportunity and not be prepared, right? So you have to take advantage and prepare and train for the opportunity that you have not had yet. So if you're writing a book, go ahead and complete that book. If you haven't started, go ahead and start on it. If you're starting a business like a virtual gym or doing a music album, whatever your future endeavors may be, use this downtime as prep time, right? So as we are recapping, isolation can be very traumatic, but we can appropriate things to our lives that will give us fulfillment and will also make us better. Instead of using coping mechanisms, we can also take advantage of this time that we have, because downtime is prep time. I'm gonna say it again, downtime is prep time. I want you guys to fully grasp what I'm really saying. I want you to understand this. Downtime is prep time. Downtime is the time that should be allocated for preparation for what's coming next. Alright, cool. I hope you guys wrote something down. I hope you made a mental note, because these tools are life-changing once you understand them, and once you appropriate them, like once you apply them to your lives, they will make a difference. I can promise you that. So I want you guys to join us next week in the continuation of our trauma series. We will be discussing traumatic change. So I'm super excited about that, and I'm actually looking forward to it. And this series is going to be life changing. And you can also follow me on Instagram at ms_is_ms. And remember, guys, saving lives starts with you.